Now that our home envelope has been better sealed and insulated, the next steps towards getting to net zero is to think about our energy consumption in terms of heating and cooling.
They're both simple and intense ways to heat and cool your house. We're very fortunate to have this house with big trees which cool the environment and big windows for the cross ventilation. And with our ceiling fans and the cross ventilation, they blow around and make our house cool, and we haven't been needing to use our air conditioning. When it's cold out, the first thing we do is put on a sweater. By warming ourselves, we can keep the house a bit cooler. This is the new thermostat we got for our heat pump, and we've set it to the settings home, away, and sleeping. And so you want to keep it at one of those settings for longer durations of time, because if you keep adjusting it frequently, it's very energy inefficient.
Not only is it more energy efficient to lower the temperature at night and while we're away for long periods of time during the winter months, it's been proven that people sleep better when it's colder at night.
So if you're like us and you're working from home, then it can be difficult to reduce the temperature during the day because, especially if you're sitting still working on a computer, you're gonna get cold. So one thing to think about there as an option is to not try and heat the whole house, but heat where you are, the rooms where you're gonna be working in during the day.
To help create these microclimates, we're doing things like implementing infrared electric heaters as well as ceiling fans. That way we don't have to overheat or overcool the parts of our house that aren't being used. Also, it's a good idea to get up and walk around. It's better for your health, better for your brain, as well as it helps to warm you up.
So being in Canada, we're not gonna get away with not heating. We can put as many efficiency measures in as we want, but we're gonna need to heat up the house somewhat. So then the most important thing to think about is what kind of energy are you using to heat the house with? Here in Ontario, where the grid is nuclear, wind, solar for the most part, the most important thing you can do is just try and electrify the house as much as possible. So Stefan from Guaranteed Comfort came by this week and installed a heat pump for us. And that's great because that's all run by electricity, heats up the house, it's working very nicely already, and it makes good financial sense as well. So, it costs almost $10,000, but you can get a Greener Homes loan to cover that, meaning a no interest loan that you can pay down over 10 years. Plus, there are rebates available. So we got a rebate of $6,500 on ours. So the remaining amount is what we have to pay down. We'll figure it'll probably take 2 to 3 years to pay off that initial investment. And then after that, you're just making money every year because you're saving a lot on your gas bills.
In Ontario, the code requires us to have a secondary heat source as backup. Our furnace is over 20 years old, but it still works. So we'll keep it as a secondary heat source until it kicks the can, at which point we will upgrade our electrical panel and add electric heat strips.
So I think when we think about heating, we often think about how we heat up the air, but of course we also need to think about how we heat water because that also can use a lot of energy. So in this house, we have an old gas-fired tank, almost at the end of its life, and probably quite inefficient. So we've been thinking about 3 different solutions to put in. One would be an electric tank, second one would be a gas-fired tankless system, and the third one would be solar heating. They're kind of great, but you still need a backup. The electric tank sounds great. However, because it's a tank system, you actually still need to be constantly pouring in electricity. And they're not necessarily that efficient. Whereas a gas tankless system runs the hot water just as fast as you want, but it reduces the amount of gas you're using 50 to 70%. So it's really a pretty big reduction, which makes it quite an efficient system. And so that's what we're thinking of putting in next week, actually.
And that's it. So cool by using ceiling fans, planting trees, and opening windows to have a cross breeze. Keep the heat down when you're sleeping or when you're gone for long periods. And heat locally by putting on a sweater or using a space heater. Then think about how you heat your air and water, favoring electricity. Make sure it's a good clean source, and if you can avoid gas, then make sure you get the most efficient system possible. Narchi's got his winter sweater on. We love you so